According to statistics, the greatest chance to start one's life is in India. Every sixth person in the world is born there. But imagine that you are so lucky that, being born Indian, you end up in the exceptional 1% of the wealthy who own 40% of the country's national wealth. But Sanjay Kapoor doesn't have to imagine this, because his father owned a huge company and even sent his son to study in London. Sanjay has been married 3 times, including to one of the most popular Bollywood actresses, and by 2022, he had a fortune of $1.2 billion and was also a close friend of British Prince William. But something incredible happened last year at a polo match in England. A bee flew into Sanjay's mouth and stung him. The billionaire had an allergic reaction and died. But what if you weren't lucky enough to be born into a wealthy family? Then maybe you'll end up in New Delhi or Kolkata, the cities with record air pollution, or in India's capital of death, Varanasi, where up to 400 bodies are burned every day by the sacred Ganges River, and corpses are often thrown directly into the water. Without money for decent food, you'll have to eat at local street restaurants. Unless, of course, the way the food is prepared ruins your appetite. And not only observe, but also participate in creating a huge amount of it, since it's not considered shameful. There's a joke on the internet that if you pick a random spot on the map of India and open the street view, you'll find trash there every time. And that's no exaggeration. Try it yourself. But why is it so dirty in India? Why hasn't there been a leader or opinion that condemned such behavior and broke the system? Let's find out. Dirty records. To be impressed, just take a look at the Indian landmark that has aptly been nicknamed the Garbage Everest. This is a landfill site located in the suburbs of the Indian capital. In its 40 years of existence, it has grown to a size comparable to 10 football fields. When the mountain of waste reached 70 meters, the authorities realized that helicopters and airplanes could crash into it. But instead of removing this Everest, they just installed warning lights for, so to speak, safety. The landfill constantly emits toxic gases and poisons underground water. Every few years, there are large-scale fires here. The trash ignites because of the methane that accumulates inside the waste. Among these mountains of garbage, thousands of people work every day, including children. They sort through the waste by hand, separating out what can be sold. The most valuable items are plastic and aluminum. They pay the most for those. At the end of the workday, the fines are handed over to middlemen, earning an average of about $10 per shift. New Delhi is the political capital of India, and it's just one of 11 districts in the vast Delhi area. 27 million people live here. That's 5 times more than the entire population of Finland. The air quality is so poor that pollution exceeds the acceptable limit by 20 times. The dust in the air is so fine that it's 20 times thinner than a human hair. No filters can catch it. This microscopic dust settles in the lungs day after day, undermining health and increasing the risk of cancer, stroke, and heart attacks. A study by scientists from the University of Chicago shows that for residents of Delhi, this invisible impact results in the loss of at least 5 years of life. Breathing in the Indian capital, as well as in many smaller cities, is dangerous due to a whole range of factors. The city is suffocating from non-eco-friendly construction methods, millions of gas stoves, as well as continuous emissions from cars and coal power plants. Not only megacities in India are suffocating from toxic smog. Here is a telling example. Visakhapatnam, or simply Vizag, is a major port center and at the same time one of the most famous resorts in the country. Ancient temples, mountain landscapes, beaches, and nature reserves have given it a reputation as a city for relaxation. Almost a third of the territory here is covered in greenery all year round, which is why Vizag has earned the nickname the City of Eternal Spring. It seems like the air should be clean here, but that's not the case. Despite its tourist image, Vizag is a major industrial hub. A major scandal happened in 2020. Residents began to complain of severe headaches, nausea, burning in their eyes, and shortness of breath. At first, the symptoms didn't cause alarm, but soon people started losing consciousness right on the street. Everyone was running and screaming. I also took my family and ran. There were many people lying on the road, but I couldn't think about saving anyone. I could only think about my family, recalls local resident Srinivas Rao. They couldn't save his daughter. She lost consciousness and died in the hospital. In total, 12 people became victims of the poisoning. The cause of the tragedy turned out to be a leak of toxic gas at a plastic manufacturing plant owned by a major South Korean corporation. It was later revealed that the plant had been operating for at least a year in violation of regulations without the required environmental permit. In Visakhapatnam, the danger comes not only from the air, but also from wastewater and household waste. They often end up right on the streets, and sanitation workers remove the waste using shovels and metal hooks, manually loading it into special vehicles. The greatest shock for tourists is the Ganges, the sacred river, which is crystal clear at its source in the Gangotri Glacier in the Himalayas. In terms of water resources, the Ganges ranks third in the world, second only to the Amazon and the Congo. However, the further the river carries its waters, the more they are poisoned by household waste and industrial discharges. At the same time, for India, this river is sacred, and for more than 400 million people, it is also the main source of water. This is more than any other river on the planet. During seasonal floods, the river flows through densely populated areas and accumulates a lot of filth, making it not only unsafe to drink from, but even to bathe in. There is a high risk of catching an infectious disease. The most talked about section of the river is near the Ghats, the stone ritual structures in the sacred city of Varanasi. The water here contains about 600 viable fecal enterobacteria per 1 ml, which is 120 times higher than the acceptable limit. Cremations also take place here. After burning, the remains are thrown into the river. But those who come to Varanasi to die without money for cremation, as well as unmarried girls, pregnant women, and children, are not cremated. Their bodies are simply thrown into the river. As if that wasn't enough, rituals of worship to the river are performed here, with burning lanterns and flowers placed on the water. This adds more material for decay. The Indian government promised back in 1985 to build water treatment facilities by the early 2000s, but due to the rate of population growth, the cleanup plan has been completely stalled. The current facilities are too weak for such a volume of pollution. Interestingly, even in this barrel of tar, there is a spoonful of honey. In the upper reaches and lowlands of the Ganges, there are several protected areas: Rajaji National Park and Sundarbans. Rare animal species live in these areas, and mangrove forests grow there. It seems that saving the Ganges is already impossible, since the main reason is littering habits. Actually, the Indian habit of littering was born a long time ago and is connected to what we call mentality. First of all, because of the old caste system that divided people into layers, the lowest caste, the untouchables, did the hardest jobs, including cleaning, and for the other castes, doing something like that was considered beneath their dignity. In the 1950s, castes were banned, but apparently, too little time has passed, and the old division between the worthy and the unworthy still lives on in Indian minds. It's very difficult to break out of the circle of caste predestination. Most people believe that caste is given for a reason, according to the laws of karma. Your standard of living depends on what you did in your past life. That's why people treat janitors like this. Supposedly, he sinned in a past life and was born to garbage collectors. That's what he deserves. If he works well, maybe next time he'll be born into a higher status family. Another significant problem was the emergence of materials that take a long time to decompose in the 20th century. And the main one is plastic. In the past, large leaves or clay products were used for packaging. Such materials decompose naturally and quite quickly. Cows also contributed to the problem, because in India they are sacred animals, and there are still huge numbers of them, including on roads and streets. In the past, Hindus would simply throw a banana peel to them, and the animal would take care of the potential waste itself. But then plastic, glass, and metal appeared as packaging, but the old habits of throwing trash at your feet remained. The problem of garbage is connected to the problem of air pollution. Landfills that form here and there are constantly being set on fire, and the products of landfill combustion poison the air, which is already ruined by industry. A basic but very important problem is simply the number of trash bins on city streets. For such a huge population density as in India, there just aren't enough trash bins, and the poor, of whom there are a huge number, also steal metal bins to sell them for scrap metal. When you're holding an empty water bottle and you've been carrying it around for half an hour, thinking about where to throw it away, you can't help but think, everything is already covered in trash. One more bottle won't make a difference. This creates a vicious cycle of littering. Cleaning the city drains is not only exhausting, but also extremely dangerous. Almost every day, there are reports of garbage collectors and sanitation workers who die from suffocation or drowning in sewer tunnels, which are often cleaned by hand. According to estimates, more than 22,000 people involved in cleaning and waste collection die every year in India. Recycling. Despite all these horrors, there is a whole array of companies in India that have monetized waste recycling. Let's take a look at the most unusual examples. Here's the idea of a young Indian, Natush. His graduation project to create sneakers from used bags and bottles attracted private investors and quickly turned into a business. The company Tiley produces up to 15,000 pairs of shoes a week. About 170 people work at the factory, and sales are steadily growing. Natush collaborates with junk dealers, buying bags, t-shirts, and clear bottles from them. The plastic is washed without chemicals, dried, and pressed in layers to obtain a strong material from bottles, creating a fabric that resembles canvas. The upper part of the sneakers is cut and sewn from the resulting materials, while the sole is molded from recycled plastic granules and additionally stitched for durability. According to Natusha, such shoes last for 2 to 3 years, after which they can be returned to the factory for recycling and given to charitable organizations. The eco-friendly approach also extends to the packaging. The bag is made from recycled bottles, and the box is made from paper with basil seeds, which can be planted in the ground. Another example, India is the second largest producer of sugar in the world. For the most part, it's made from sugarcane, which leaves behind tons of waste after processing. The Paka industrialist family has been growing sugarcane and producing sugar from it for many years, but only a third of the raw material goes into the product, and the rest turns into waste. A bag. After processing, tons of bagasse, the fibrous remains of sugarcane, accumulate around the factory. A third is burned for energy, but the other 2/3 are just waste. The young heir to the business, Yash Paka, came up with a use for the waste. He launched the production of disposable tableware, plates, cups, bowls, and trays. The brand was named Chuk, which means taste in Hindi. Before washing and pressure treatment, workers remove the top layer of tiny fibers. They use an alkaline solution for this, which makes the sugarcane residue softer and more pliable. After that, the raw material is thoroughly washed to remove traces of chemicals, and then the resulting pulp is poured into molding machines, where the water is squeezed out and the desired shape is formed. Many manufacturers bleach such products, but at CHAK they have deliberately chosen to skip this step. Here, they believe that environmental friendliness is only possible with minimal use of chemicals. The finished products are packed in compostable starch-based containers, completely replacing plastic packaging. CHAK tableware completely decomposes in just 3 months, while plastic can remain in the soil for hundreds of years. However, the eco-friendly solution has a downside. The sugarcane plate costs about 8 rubles, while the plastic one costs 6. With bulk purchases, this difference becomes significant for restaurants and cafes. Despite this, YASH deliberately does not lower the cost of its products. All company employees receive an official salary not lower than the minimum living wage, which is rare for India. According to the entrepreneur, profit is just a matter of time. One of the most unusual examples of waste recycling in India is connected with those very flowers that are sent floating away. On the Ganges River, the company Fool started turning temple offerings into incense sticks. The collection of raw materials begins at wholesale markets, such as the market in Shevalaya, from where the flowers go to temples and then into the rivers. Since the flowers are used in religious rituals, throwing them in the trash is considered unacceptable. As a result, More than 1,000 tons of flower waste end up in the waters of the Ganges every day, and many of them contain dangerous substances like heavy metals and pesticides, which poison the ecosystem. The founder of PHOOL, Ankit Agarwal, was the first to ask why temple waste had never been considered a source of pollution. Today, the company's employees visit the temples of Kanpur every day, collect the flowers, clean them of foreign materials, and send them for recycling. The petals are used to make incense sticks, while the stems and buds are turned into compost. The company's production lines can produce up to 400 sticks per hour. This closed-loop process is called the flower cycle. According to Ankit, their products are safer than traditional ones since most incense sticks are made from charcoal, which releases toxic gases when burned. Another, equally interesting and unexpected source for recycling is cigarette butts. Despite the severe environmental situation, smoking remains widespread in India, and every year, cigarette butts from 4.5 trillion cigarettes are discarded. Their filters are not cotton, but plastic saturated with nicotine and chemical compounds. The company Codeford has built a system for collecting and sorting cigarette butts, and then recycling them. All stages have passed independent safety certification. The resulting raw material is used to stuff soft toys, pillows, and to produce mosquito repellents, which are released under the NMOSQ brand. The problem of air pollution in India also pushed architect Tejas Sidnal to come up with an unconventional solution. He founded the Carbon Craft Design Project, which turns black carbon, one of the most harmful components of smog, into cement tiles. The production requires no firing, has a minimal carbon footprint, and is fully energy efficient. Based on manual labor, the tiles are made to order and cost less than $2 each. But unfortunately, installing these tiles is more complicated than the usual ones. An exception to the rule. Among the polluted cities of India, a role model has recently emerged: Indore, the commercial center of Madhya Pradesh. In 2017, it became the cleanest city in India according to rankings and has maintained its leadership ever since. In 2022, Indore received the status of the country's first 7-star waste-free city, and in 2023, it topped the ranking of cities with the cleanest air among metropolises. Just 10 years ago, Indore was not much different from other Indian cities. Garbage on the streets, stray animals, and spontaneous dumps. The key to success was a comprehensive waste management system developed by the municipal corporation. The city, with a population of about 3.5 million people, produces at least 1,200 tons of waste every day. And all of this is collected directly at the source, in homes and businesses. Every day, about 850 garbage trucks hit the streets, operating on a door-to-door basis. The trucks are equipped with global positioning system and are divided into compartments for wet, dry, and hazardous waste. And they even play a melody that lets residents know it's time to take out the trash. The movement of the vehicles is monitored in real time from the command center. The reform began in 2015 and included 3 priorities: removing garbage bins from the streets, eliminating dust, and achieving complete coverage of separate waste collection. Residents were actively taught how to sort waste, and fines were imposed for refusal. Over time, the habit took hold, and today, separate waste collection has become the norm. Social integration also played an important role. More than 1,000 waste collectors who previously worked unofficially were included in the city's sanitation system. They received uniforms, a stable salary, and became active participants in the cleanliness program. Special attention was given to markets, shops, and cafes. All commercial outlets were required to have trash bins, and the absence of containers or failure to comply with the rules is punishable by fines. Local composting was introduced at food markets, and the amount of waste from each shop is weighed. The fee depends on the amount of garbage. Wet waste is processed into compost and biocompressed natural gas, which are used as fuel for city buses and supplied to hotels and universities. Dry waste is sorted and sold to recyclers. Revenue from plastic, metal, glass, paper, and even carbon credits goes to the municipal budget. According to official data, Indore spends about 2 billion rupees annually on waste management. but a significant part of the expenses is offset by recycling. There are no more landfills in the city. All waste is processed within 24 hours. This is just one city for now. But who knows? Maybe its example will inspire others in India. And that's where we'll wrap up. Thank you for watching. Please support the video with a like and a comment, and see you in the next episodes on our channel.